That's all.
You got that? I'm the.
Got it.
Let's go.
Hi, my name.
Let's just wait. I think we hadn't settled yet.
Okay. Hi, my name is Jeff May. I'm President and CEO here, and we thank you for considering us for your home financing. I promise you we will work hard to both understand and satisfy your needs. We look forward to earning your trust. Thank you. Let me do that again. Hi, my name is Jeff May. I'm President and CEO here, and we thank you for considering us for your home financing. I promise you we will both do this over and over and over again until we get it right. Hi, my name is Jeff May. I'm President and CEO here, and we thank you for considering us for your home financing. I promise you we will both. I could do this in the shower all morning long. Hi, my name is Jeff May. I'm President and CEO here, and we thank you for considering us for your home financing. I promise you we'll work hard to both understand and satisfy your needs. We look forward to earning your trust. Thank you.
That's great.
Can I just look at it?
Yeah. That's kind of the harder thing to do,
stopping?
to try and
Yeah,
deliver like a,
It's hard, yeah.
I said.
Okay, so why don't you start by giving us a specific example of a time you had a challenging situation with a client that ended up successful?
Actually, I have a challenging situation that's in play right now. I have a closing going on next week. We started working with this fellow about 6 months ago, and he's buying a new house from a builder. His credit was, shall we say, less than exemplary, and he didn't have enough income to qualify, but he assured us by the time we closed that he was going to have a job making $10,000 to $12,000 a month, in which case he would qualify fine. So several months went by. As it turned out, he did have a position. He's a psychiatrist associated with another psychiatry practice, but because he's right out of school, he's going to operate on a referral basis. We can use none of his income. So imagine the chagrin of husband and wife when they found out they'd put down $12,000 on a piece of property and they don't qualify. So to make a long story short, we figured out ways to involve other parties to come in and solve the problem for them. And one of the parties that came in had a very complicated array of farm property in Iowa with all kinds of leases and rents and mortgages and so forth. And I'm happy to say that we just resolved this yesterday, and we're closing next week as originally scheduled. However, the degree of anxiety that these people went through, just because they didn't understand the fundamentals of this process, was almost palpable. You could feel it. You could feel it in the emails. You could feel it in the tone in the telephone conversation. And I was concerned that I left him with a bad impression, and yet yesterday I was informed by the wife, also a psychiatrist, that she's so grateful for everything we did because their experience with a prior lender on the same transaction that they walked away from was not even comparable and never would have gotten them to the closing table. So that made us feel pretty good about it. The outcome is not quite finished, but it's very close to being concluded.
Great. How about a time you talked a borrower out of a loan that they were pretty intent on because it just didn't make sense for them? It's too much money for them, or?
Can I just step in for 1 moment? My concern is keeping these stories somehow,
Short.
keeping the life of them, but also keeping them as concise as possible so that we can incorporate. Because we're going to be trying to incorporate several of these stories, I guess.
Hey, Dickie, can you also just make sure, just keep that too, because we can also use that for other
Sure. Oh, we're not
purposes. That'd
getting
be
rid of
great.
anything.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
it's-
was that too long a segment? Is that what you're saying?
Because I'm going to be editing this, so of course I'm thinking
Right.
about
Yeah.
how it's going to edit. And
Right.
if we have a 1.5 minute video or something,
Yeah, we do have to keep them kind of short.
stories
How long was that? I don't have any
It's
sense.
probably,
That felt more like 2 minutes to me, but
Yeah, it
so
was pretty
that's-
long.
So, I mean, it's just something I'm
Okay.
thinking about as we move along.
Okay.
How to get the, what's nice about stories, so that they're real, right? They're not just.
right.
Yeah.
Well, that particular example that I picked, it's difficult to tell the story without contextualizing it. You know?
Right.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, it might be hard for some of these actually.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll jump to the next. Let me jump to. I'm going to jump around a little bit.
you jump.
I'm going to jump. Okay.
You're still on.
What's the one thing you find borrowers are most confused about when they first come in?
I think that's easy. They're completely confused by the process. You have people like Quicken out there saying you push a button, you get a mortgage. And nothing could be further from the truth in my day-to-day practice in what modern underwriting guidelines require. There's a tremendous amount of documentation, which leads to further inquiries and so forth. And clientele are expecting, we're working with an iPhone generation. You push a button, you get what you want. One click, Amazon is shipped to your door 2 days later. That's not how this process works. And people need to understand they have to affiliate themselves with someone who's a real professional and understands how to manage the transaction.
How do you get them through that? How do you get them over that hump?
It's a bit of an effort. One thing is setting expectations. If you can have an opportunity to sit down with somebody in the beginning before they get embroiled in a real estate transaction and set those expectations. This is what's going to happen now. This is going to happen later. This is why it happens. It makes it a much easier and more pleasant experience for them.
Tell us about a recent day at work where you left feeling satisfied and proud.
That one, I think I would have to reach back several months. We were doing a loan for a husband and wife who had moved here from New York City. They worked in healthcare in a hospital. And they rented an apartment in New York, and they were coming to Colorado with a job opportunity and wanted to buy a home. And so it seemed pretty straightforward to me. We were going through the process. We handled all the inspections. We got it closed. And my business partner, Jennifer, actually went to the closing. And she came back with a degree of lightness in her step. And I said, "What's going on?" She says, "That's the best closing I've ever been to in my life." And she's a licensed real estate agent that came to work on my team about 2 years ago. So she's been to a lot of closings. I said, "What happened?" She said, "You may not know this, but those two people have 3 children that have been in Ghana in Africa with her parents, waiting for them to have a place so they could be reunited." And not only did she feel good, that made me feel pretty good that we could have an impact on somebody's life to that extent.
Tell us just a little bit about how you determine the right loan for someone. Like, how do you think about a loan when someone first comes in?
That's really a multi-dimensional process. I had someone in the office today, a young man and his wife are buying their first home. And he's a pretty intelligent fellow. He's a tech background guy, does a lot of software programming. And he just wanted to sit down and talk about what his options are. Never bought a house before. So the first thing you have to do is engage him in a conversation about what are their long-term goals, or how long are they going to live in this house? Is this going to be a first house, a last house? Do you want to later convert it to an investment property, keep it, and move on to the next one? And the answer to all those questions are going to govern how you structure a particular transaction. And the structure is fundamentally important to the impact it's going to have on the outcome that might be expected or not even realized by the client. If you don't ask the questions, you can't move the parts around to best design a loan scenario for them.
So those questions are really key.
They're absolutely key. And one of the things that's very challenging today is a lot of people don't want to come into your office. They want to push a button. They want to send you a text, and they want you to send them a mortgage. You cannot do the job properly. And that's one of the reasons I like Cherry Creek Mortgage, because they give us the opportunity to act in a high trust capacity and deliver a boutique experience that you don't get in a lot of other venues. And that's why I'm here.
Has there ever been a time where you had to talk someone out of a loan because it just wasn't right for them?
If you could
I think
include like the question and answer when you're able to. Just,
Oh, yeah, to say, there was this one time I had to talk someone out of a loan, like sort of repeat the question.
well, the question is, was there ever a time I had to talk someone about a loan? But here's my, out of going into a particular transaction, my answer to that is a little different than you might expect. Very often you will get an inquiry from a borrower, particularly a younger one, well, how much can I qualify for? And my answer to that is always, that's the wrong question. My question to you is, what do you feel comfortable for in writing a check at the end of the month with all the other obligations that you have, either that exist now or that exist tomorrow when you buy a new car, do whatever you're going to do in your life. And once you tell me what that is, I'll tell you what your purchase price range is. Because typically, in my experience, almost always, if someone has good credit, reliable and established employment and some resources, they can always get approved to borrow more, in my opinion, than they should. So when I set the stage like that, I don't really have to talk them out of it because I've steered them into a more intelligent decision in evaluating which way they ultimately want to go.
Yeah, you're sort of taking the big picture of their finances from the very first step.
Yes, you are, and I think the big picture is important because sometimes people come in with a supposition of what they want, and they're usually making that determination on absolutely no knowledge. They've talked to someone else who knows even less about the process than they do, and oh, I want this particular product. So it really pays to take the time, explore the issues, evaluate their circumstances, present and future, and guide them accordingly.